Hi there, meteorologist TJ Springer here in the Storm Center. All eyes are on Hurricane Milton, or I should say Tropical Storm Milton, eventually what will become Hurricane Milton. And this has been a big headline. We've been talking about it all week long, and now the days are pretty much here to start really taking the necessary precautions you need to do to get ready. And we're going to wait just about a minute or so. We're also going live on Facebook and YouTube, but we're here on Fox Local to bring you the latest. And this is going to be the trend. We're going to continue to see more and more data that will support a more maybe congealed track over the next 24, 48, and eventually 72 hours. We're going to take a look at the latest advisory. This is just in at 11 a.m. That wind sustained at 65 miles per hour with that movement coming in from the east-southeast now at 6 miles per hour. And you can see the latest satellite imagery, seeing a more defined almost center, not seeing an eye just yet, but notice these whites here and those pinks, the grays. That's the area of really tall thunderstorms that is now getting picked up on satellite imagery. In just a minute, I'm going to refresh our Facebook page to make sure this is up online, and I believe we are. Yes, so please, if you do have any questions, I would love to answer those while we're up here. We're probably going to be going for at least 20 minutes or so to give you the latest, and if you have anything that comes to your mind, please let me know. Throw them in the comment section on Facebook, and I'll try to answer as many of those as I can. So if you're just joining us again, this is our latest advisory at 11 a.m. The wind now sustained with Tropical Storm Milton at 65 miles per hour with that east to southeasterly movement. Still a crawl. That's one of the big differences now, at least compared to what we had with Helene, where Helene was really moving. And this will start to pick up some forward speed once it starts to interact with that jet stream that dips down later on this week as it starts to get closer to landfall. So let's look at the track here, shall we? And there has been some changes in this, and I was just noting the cone has shrunk just a little bit, and that trend also going to continue as we continue to get in more data, not only into the National Hurricane Center, but from the hurricane hunters that are putting that data into the models as well. So let's time things out here. We're thinking at least a Category 1 hurricane by potentially later on tonight, and then by now Monday morning a Category 2 hurricane. So that's already a change from what we saw earlier on with our 8 a.m. advisory, and this continues to rapidly intensify by Monday evening. Wind gusts up to 140 miles per hour. By Tuesday morning, wind gusts possibly up to 155 miles per hour, a strong Cat 3, and I would not be shocked if this does make a run of Category 4 status. The question mark in that is we start to see this work up towards some greater wind shear, which is good news. That should help weaken Milton, but that's one thing we're going to have to watch as we go through the next few days. So zooming in, we can see 284 miles. If you're watching us on Good Day Orlando, we did have about a 315 mile wide cone along the coast. So this has shrunk just a little bit, and that's going to be something that we'll continue to see as more data starts to come together to pinpoint a greater area or a greater likelihood of a landfall location. And you can still see at 8 a.m. Thursday, this is a Category 1 off the East Coast. So likely Cat 1 to Cat 2 hurricane force wind, and at least gusts potentially across anywhere in this cone. It's going to be smaller than Helene. Gusts, tropical storm force, at least not going to be as far from the center, and hurricane force for sure. But I want you to remember, 284 miles, Milton could be anywhere in that cone right now. So with that, let's go forward and talk about the spaghetti plots or the spaghetti models, and think of each little line or a piece of spaghetti as a Milton potential scenario or potential track. And you can still see with this latest data, there are plenty of lines here right across the I-4 corridor. And with that, we have at least a potential likelihood or potential chance, so to speak, of a landfall in this area. There's just some outliers to the north and to the south, but there's a lot more data suggesting a landfall close to Tampa Bay and hugging the I-4 corridor right up toward the greater Orlando metro. So that's going to be, at least for now, a trend that we're really going to have to watch, because a shift one way or the other will make dramatic impacts shifts, so to speak? Could we be dealing with lesser surge in spots like Tampa Bay down through Fort Myers, or does it go more north and we get that surge of water right up into the bay and the coast? So there are lots of things that we're going to be ironing out and fine-tuning, so there could be some minor tweaks. That's expected, but there's a good bet that we could be seeing a landfall across central Florida as we progress into our Wednesday. So you may be thinking, hey, what changed? And we were talking about a weaker system and maybe just a sloppy mess of flooding rain, but that has kind of changed over the last 48 hours or so. And one of the big reasons why is that cold front that was coming across the United States has picked up speed. It's quicker, so it's not going to be coinciding really with Milton, because originally we thought that front would kind of help push it south, bring more wind shear, and help tear down what would have become Milton. But that is now not the case. So now with this scenario, the shear is away from Milton for a greater period of time, and it's over the open waters of the Gulf for a longer period of time. So between those two, it's allowed to really rapidly intensify, something that we don't want to see. But in this case, it's also slow moving. So all these factors are playing a role in what will become likely a major Category 3 to potentially Category 4 Milton over the next 36 to 48 hours. So what are you thinking? What do you need to do? Well, stick with us. And I know so many of you have been. We really appreciate it. Depend on the Fox 35 Storm team. Make sure you join Laurel tonight, Noah as well, and then make sure you wake up with Brooks and Jess on Good Day Orlando tomorrow morning for all of the latest. But you really want to try to finish up your storm preps between today and Monday, because Tuesday, it's pretty much go time. Last minute things, you need to run to the store, maybe get your prescriptions, make sure you have gas, if you have a generator, just make sure all the things you need for your hurricane preps and your hurricane kit are stocked up and you're good to go, because Wednesday really is go time, and that's when Milton is going to be making landfall, likely later in the day. I do think we're going to have outer rain bands moving in on Tuesday, especially later in the day, but we're likely going to have the landfall with Milton by Wednesday. So what does that look like for impacts for us here, at least across central Florida and the Fox 35 viewing area? Well, we're thinking heavy rain throughout much of Wednesday. The strong wind, potential hurricane force gusts start to develop later Wednesday, closer to landfall, and I think that's when the tornado threat starts to ramp up as well, because of us being in relation, where we are in relation to the quote-unquote dirty side of the storm. And I'm going to pause for just one moment. I'm actually going to share this to my Facebook page as well, so it's getting out to as many spots as it possibly can be. And this is going to be a good spot, a good place to see if we have any questions as well. If you're just joining us, we're right on Fox Local, we're on YouTube, and we're also on Facebook Live. So if you do have any questions, please throw them in the comments section, and I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can while I'm up here. Okay, let me share this. Give me 1 second. All righty. And I think that should be on my page as well. Good deal. Okay. So again, if you're just hopping on Fox Local, maybe you're just hopping on Facebook, you happen to see this video, we're talking the tropics, we're tracking the tropics and giving you the latest on what will become Hurricane Milton eventually, likely later on this evening. So in terms of storm impacts, our central to eastern areas, anywhere from Orange, Osceola to Brevard counties, we're thinking the worst of the weather is going to be late Wednesday into Wednesday night. So what does that look like? Well, certainly strong wind, possibly hurricane force gusts. A tornado or two can't be ruled out. Just like with Helene, we were on the dirty side. We had tornado warnings, thankfully none were confirmed, but we did have a good handful of tornado warnings. In terms of the rainfall, this is really dependent on Milton's track, but I think 4 to 6 inches, at least from the data I've seen this morning, is a pretty good bet. There could be some isolated amounts higher than that, but betting on a half a foot of rain is a solid idea. Now we go northbound to include Flagler, Volusia, and Seminole counties, anywhere from Altamont Springs up through Deltona, DeLand, Daytona Beach, Palm Coast. Same story. Wednesday evening into the overnight, that's likely when we're going to have the worst of the weather. We're going to be right here with you, guiding you through it all. Strong wind, a tornado or two can't be ruled out. Again, heavy rain in that 4 to half a foot realm, possibly higher. And then we go to the north and west for Marion, Lake, Sumter counties. There has been some data that suggests lighter amounts of rain here. So I would maybe skew to the 3-4 inch versus the 6 inch, 7-8 inch realm. I do think there's going to be a stripe of rain that could put down that kind of those kinds of amounts. But for now, I think this is a pretty solid bet. A few tornadoes possible here, strong wind gusts for sure. Heading up to our friends across Dixie, Gilchrist, Levy, and Alachua counties across our WOGX viewing area. Same story. Heavy rain likely, but I would maybe skew a little further to the lighter end of the range of rain. Strong wind, hurricane force wind possible Wednesday evening into the overnight. We'll start to get a better handle on those totals as we start to get a better handle on the exact track. But I think those north of Milton are going to see the heaviest rain, while those south of the center are going to see lesser amounts of rain. So let's time things out here on our Fox model. And before I do, I'm going to hop on over and just see if there are some questions and comments. Let's see, flooding, etc. I'm just going to hop on here and see what we can find. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything. I see Teresa asking about Melbourne. You will get hit. Yeah, this is. I was listening to the governor and the emergency management director for the state of Florida. He mentioned that this could actually be the largest evacuation since Irma back in 2017. So if that's any sign, at least right now, this is going to bring large impacts to a good chunk of the Sunshine State. Amber's asking about Kissimmee. Yeah, Kissimmee, same story. We'll all have to be on high alert to watch where Milton goes right now. So many of our counties, I believe, last time I checked, was 35 under states of emergency, but I imagine that's going to go up. But that's what we have from the governor right now. And I'll try to answer a little bit more of these as we get further into our Tracking the Tropics broadcast. But for now, let's go through our Fox model on our future clouds and radar here. We're going to continue to see Milton organizing through the remainder of the day, likely already a Cat 1 hurricane at this point, continuing to organize and really strengthen up as we head through the day tomorrow. Monday into Tuesday, we're going to have the potential for that Cat 2 to Cat 3 transition. And by Wednesday, we get through Tuesday night. This is about lunchtime, and it's really knocking on our doorstep. So we're thinking once we get through lunch, we're really going to start to feel the impacts becoming a bit worse. Stronger wind, heavier rain, and the potential for some rotation in any band that lifts up through the peninsula. But by the time we get into after dinner, that's when we're likely seeing this thing make landfall and continuing to move eastward over the Sunshine State to the wee hours of our Thursday. So I think really Wednesday night into Thursday still going to be dealing with the brunt of the impacts, but it finally starts to lift out of here by Thursday afternoon. Still going to have that wraparound potential for some showers, but eventually we're going to tap into some of that drier air, and that's going to really make things feel quite nice as we end the work week. But we have to get through Milton first. Now, in terms of the wind gusts, I would take these a little bit lighter at this point. I know as we get more data in, this is our Fox model. Once again, we're going to see these probably get bumped up a little bit, but I would say by midday Wednesday, we're going to start to see and feel the wind increasing. So I would say probably tropical storm force gusts at that point. And then we start to see those gusts ramping up even more as we head through late Wednesday into the wee hours of our Thursday. So this is probably just after a landfall, and we're still having gusts up close to hurricane force, but I would think that these numbers are a little low, that they're going to be likely higher as we're getting more data in as we head through the next couple of days. Again, we still have to get through a lot more recon missions by the hurricane hunters and feed that new data into our model data that we're going to get out to you. So in terms of rain, we've talked about the wind. Now it's time to talk about the rain. Look at that stripe in the purple and the white across northern Florida. Now this is just one data set, but it does give you a handle on how much rain will likely fall north of the center and the lighter amounts to the south. So this is something we're going to have to watch, because wherever Milton does go will really play a role in who sees the heaviest amounts of rain. So in terms of that, I still think there's going to be the potential for a widespread swath somewhere across central Florida who picks up 6, 7, 8 inches of rain. But I would say Right now, that's kind of tough to pinpoint. That's why, at least in the ensemble data, you've heard us talk about that a lot. It's a blend of different atmospheric scenarios that gives us a better handle on the kind of impacts that we could see. And those numbers were a little bit less, in the 4, 3 even, up to about 6-inch range. So that's why I've kind of gone 3 to 6 inches plus, because I know there is going to be isolated amounts much higher than that. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some spots that maybe pick up 9, 10 inches of rain in some areas. So that's what we're going to be watching closely, and that's why we have a flood watch for just about all of Central Florida. This is in effect through Thursday morning at 8 a.m. and I wouldn't be shocked, with all the moisture that is up in the atmosphere, that we get some flash flooding concerns as well as we head throughout late Wednesday into early Thursday morning. So make sure you're staying with the Fox 35 Storm Team. We're all going to be here getting you through another potential major hurricane on our hands after just getting through Helene. Now, I am going to look at some comments here and see if I know there's been a bunch. I'm going to see if I can go back up to the top. Let's see. Someone's asking about school closings. Nikki, I'm sure we're going to have some school closings, but we haven't gotten, at least from what I've seen, anything just yet. Let's see. Alexis Rump asking about Winter Haven. So many of us are going to be under the gun, and I'm going to go back to our cone here. Because this is going to be to me at least, and I think to all of us, it is going to be a different feeling than what we saw with Helene. Because Helene, it was so big, and we still had some pretty big impacts, but in terms of us in Central Florida, we had some rain, certainly some gusty wind, and we did have those tornado warnings, but the worst of the worst was up to our northwest, where closer to landfall, and then up into the southeast, of course, where all the devastating flooding occurred with the help of the Appalachian Mountains. But here, with a track like this going right up toward, at least the potential for it to go right up toward Tampa, and then close to the greater Orlando metro, we're going to be feeling more impacts here at home compared to what we felt and saw with Helene. So that is the one big difference. And it's still, as you can see, just like what we saw with Helene, became a major hurricane. And this has the same potential because of how warm the Gulf is and the lack of wind shear. It's going over a really favorable area for rapid intensification in the Gulf right now. Let's see, we have Fatima asking about Osceola County. Yeah, Osceola County going to have the potential for 3 to 6 inches plus of rain, hurricane force wind gusts. And there has been, at least from some of the data I was looking at right before I hopped on with you, some of the fresh model runs, the fresh data, there has been at least the potential for a trend, at least a little one, a little shift maybe to the south. We'll have to see if that continues in the ensemble data and the run-to-run data as well. But that was one scenario that I was seeing. Let's see. We have Donna asking about Jacksonville. So you can see anywhere from Flagler County up to St. Johns County, right up toward, the Jacksonville metro. This is included. You're included in the cones. If you know friends, have family up that way, right now, anywhere in the cone has to be on high alert until we start to get some more data and we start to see this cone shrink, because Milton Center could be anywhere in this cone, and currently it's 284 miles wide. And that's going to really change the impacts from one city, one town to the next, and who sees the worst, who sees conditions that might be a little bit better, maybe lesser wind, lesser rain. So there's still a lot that we're going to continue to iron out. Catherine is asking about Deltona. Catherine, you're not too far from where we live. So same story, all of Central Florida right now, and really anywhere in this cone, you have to be on high alert. Make your preparations now. It's better to be safe and prepared than sorry, because this is going to strengthen quickly. Let's see. Flights, Kelly's asking about flights leaving MCO Thursday at 5. I would think that we're still going to have some blustery wind Thursday afternoon and evening as we're seeing Milton pulling away. But I don't think it's going to be as widespread of potential delays as what we would have, say, Wednesday morning into Thursday morning. So you might be okay, of course. Listen to us, look at your latest flight information. Let's see. Okay. Someone's saying every storm is different. That's certainly the case. Libby's asking about Daytona Beach. So Daytona Beach, Volusia County under a state of emergency. I would say the thing with Daytona Beach, you know, we're going to be on the backside, so to speak, getting that northeasterly breeze. So I would say there's the potential still for some surge, some pretty nasty surge, and wave heights that could be between maybe 10 and 15 feet. That's something we're going to be watching as well. We're going to continue to get more information as we head through the next 12, 24, 36 hours. But really all of us here across Central Florida, and as I've hit on, anywhere in the cone, need to be on high alert. There are so many questions and comments, and I appreciate you all joining us. I think what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to go through the satellite information. I'm going to go through the cone one more time, and then I'm going to try to maybe get through some of these questions off camera. But if you have been watching us on Fox Local, Facebook, YouTube, I appreciate it. Expect more coverage through the rest of the day. Laurel and Noah are going to be in tonight and have the latest, and Brooks and Jess on Good Day Orlando in the morning, starting bright and early at 4 o'clock. So let's bring you back. This was our 11 a.m. advisory, and you can see, if you were joining us on Good Day Orlando this morning, myself and Caroline, we were talking about how Milton is continuing to organize. We're seeing higher, taller, so to speak, thunderstorms now starting to form around Milton Center. That's a sign that we're seeing that intensification, in that organization. In here with the grays and the blacks and the whites and pinks, with the wind now up to 65 miles per hour, sustained, likely hurricane force gusts as it's crawling off to the east-southeast at just over 5 miles per hour. At our 8 a.m. advisory, we had a wind at 60. With each advisory, we've continued to see more organization and the wind continuing to increase. So let's bring you through the cone and some changes that I've seen. We've already been expecting this rapid strengthening with Milton, but now we have the potential for a Cat 1 hurricane by as early as 8 p.m. this evening, and now a Cat 2 with wind gusts up close to 120 by Monday morning. So this has been a big jump in terms of timeline, in terms of a quicker strengthening with Milton, and then by Tuesday morning, a major Category 3 hurricane with gusts possibly around 155 miles per hour. It then starts to make the beeline toward Florida. One thing we're going to be watching, especially over the next couple of days, really Monday and Tuesday, is how and when does it start to take that northeasterly turn, because that's going to really determine the impacts here across so much of the Sunshine State. But the cone has shrunk since the last advisory, which was at 8. It was 315 miles wide. Now it's down to 284. So about a 30-mile shrink of the cone, and we're only going to see that continue as we progress through time. Notice Thursday morning, so a Category 1 hurricane. We all were dealing with, at least for the most part, tropical storm force wind. But this one, for the most part, hurricane force wind gusts. That's already a drastic change from Helene to Milton, at least across Central Florida. But I just want to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for all the questions, comments, concerns. I'm going to try to comb through some of those and look forward to more updates as we progress through the rest of our Sunday and into next week. Thanks for sticking with us.